Sinogba. I am a Filipino TCK living in the Philippines. I am with TCKid, a non-profit organization working and serving TCKs and CCKs all over the world. As for my own background, I am a Filipino citizen, but I was born in Seoul, South Korea. And I lived there and went to school there till I was 5.5 years old. And then after that, I moved to the Philippines for 2 years. And then after that, I lived in Grenada, which is an island in the Caribbean, for 4 years. Then I lived in the Philippines where I went to middle school and then high school. And then I moved to the U.S. when I was 19 for college. So I did my 4 years of college as well as 1 year of work in the United States. And then I moved back here to the Philippines in 2007. So I have now lived here for almost 8 years. So I've basically been working in issues related to third culture kids as well as transnational children and youth in the Philippines. I have been serving as a volunteer executive assistant for TCKid since 2009. And then I have been the local chapter leader for TCKid Philippines, basically organizing meetups as well as other kinds of activities to get people here in the Philippines to meet one another as well as to sort of have more constructive avenues for using their TCK experiences for positive changes. And then finally, I have been involved with a local NGO called TIGRA, Transnational Institute for Grassroots Research and Action. It's an NGO that was originally founded in the United States and working for migrant justice. And I was responsible for starting a program for transnational children and youth in the Philippines. So basically, any person who grew up in a transnational family, so that includes anyone who had a parent who worked overseas, anybody like us who grew up as a third culture kid, anybody who attempted to migrate but eventually moved back to the Philippines, and anyone who has a non-Filipino parent, as well as people from non-Filipino backgrounds who migrated to the Philippines and became citizens or permanent residents. So we've been working on that since last year, and we're currently building that program. So this month's topic for the TCK Summit is on the values revolution and the future of work. So basically we want to talk about or discuss the issue of how TCKs are offering value to organizations to create impact in today's world. So that's an interesting question, and I really felt that resonated with me because, for me, somebody who has been involved with TCK-related work for many years, I often find that usually the conversation is about how TCKs can excel as individuals, when I feel that we can take the conversation forward and begin to talk about how we can work together to create social change and how to change the world. So in order to take that conversation forward, I really feel that we can use our experiences and our own sort of global mindset as third culture kids to create change in the world. And just to give you a bit of a context about myself, in addition to being a third culture kid, I also grew up in a transnational Filipino family. So my family grew up or lived in different countries around the world, but my own extended family also lived abroad. So I had uncles who were living all over Asia, from Korea, Japan, all over the Middle East, as well as in Africa. And then I had some aunts who also ended up marrying non-Filipinos. And I also have another uncle who migrated to the United States. So my family has been everywhere, and pretty much a microcosm of trends and how Filipino families are becoming more transnational. So I feel that experience kind of shapes, the future and what we should be thinking about in terms of our globalized society. Within the Philippine context, Philippines is the third largest migrant-sending country in the world. We are also third in terms of how many remittances that we have received through such a large diaspora. And now, the year is 2015, a lot of us whose parents started working abroad are starting to think about how we can contribute to our societies. We're all coming of age. A lot of us who grew up in the diaspora are thinking about the Philippines specifically and are coming here, are moving here, are starting to think about working here in ways so that we can help the Philippines and ultimately to address this issue of, large-scale migration. So, what do I think the future of work will look like? Well, for me personally, I think the future of work is going to be a lot more democratic and a lot more equal and a lot more accessible for more people. I think that it's going to be more socially driven. I think that it's going to be more accessible to more people who have traditionally not have the means or have had the means or the access that people have now. What I would like to see is that it'll be less have less capital be concentrated in the hands of the few, and instead more people have access to these resources and are able to start their own initiatives, their own projects, and it's all towards the betterment of their own community. We're starting to see a lot more cooperatives, a lot more social businesses, as well as a lot of nonprofits working towards people building up their own communities, thinking about the future, thinking about a sustainable way of living rather than using up our environment, our resources, and exploiting people. So I really think that the future of work is about, empowering people, empowering especially people who have not been empowered in the past, especially people in developing countries, women, indigenous people, etc. So, these are all things that we can look forward to, and we're starting to see it now. That you have an idea about what I think the future of work looks like. What am I actually doing to make this happen? Well, for me, I've actually been working in the development sector for the past 8 years, and in the nonprofit sector for the past 9 years. And everything I've been doing has been with the general idea of, helping the community. My first job was working with a nonprofit in the United States, working with Asian American people living in the state of Iowa. And since I've returned to the Philippines back in 2007, I've been working with different nonprofits here, from public health and now to the environment. I've been involved with different social justice organizations, working with sort of international human rights, land rights, social justice, specifically climate justice, and sort of doing transnational organizing and transnational campaigning around the issue of climate justice, which is an international issue that affects all of us as people. And then more specifically, I've been doing stuff around working with the Filipino diaspora, as well as third culture kids. I've been working with TCKid for the past few years as a volunteer, and I've also been working with different organizations, working with young Filipinos in the diaspora or living all over the world, as well as transnational people here in the Philippines, or people who have transnational ties but are staying here in the Philippines. For me, I wanted to focus it more on the global Filipino community, and I think that working around the issue of, organizing and building a community of third culture kids works towards that as well. In what ways can cultivating a TCK or a global citizen mindset enable more people and more organizations to embrace, this idea of the values revolution and to make the future of work happen? Well, just thinking back in the past few days, I read this story about this priest who actually, he committed his life to social justice. One of the things that one of his friends said after he passed away was that he really felt that as a priest, that he really felt that the Bible represented this sort of what he called radical inclusiveness. And that really struck me as a third culture kid, because I really feel that our experiences teach us about being radical inclusiveness. We learn how to, accept different kinds of people, new kinds of experiences, different ways of thinking. And I really feel like that's the greatest gift that we can give to the world, from our experiences. So, I feel that we as people, as third culture kids, can go out and teach other people about what it means to be radical or radically inclusive. We can teach people what it means to embrace diversity, accepting that we are all different, and that there's always space for different ways of being, different ways of thinking and doing things, and that they are equally important participants in shaping our communities. So, that actually takes a lot of work, right? So I think as third culture kids, we should be doing more of that and teaching other people about what we have learned growing up in terms of how it's shaping the future of work. Doing that will enable us to, see more harmony and peace in our way of living. It can see innovation and new ways of thinking when it comes to finding solutions for the world's problems. And it means that, it'll hopefully start to be one way to address inequalities, especially when it comes to marginalized people who have experienced injustice in different parts of the world. So I really feel that, what the sort of mindset that many of us grew up with can be a contributing factor to that. But at the same time, I also think that TCKs can learn more about the value of local thinking, because in many ways, the traditional ways of doing things also have their value and can also contribute to sustainability. Think about indigenous communities all over the world and the way that they manage their environment. There's a reason why they've managed to survive for thousands of years, so there's also value in doing that. So in a way, we should also open up our minds to that way of thinking and not sort of allow ourselves to think that this multicultural global mindset is the only way of being. So that's part of it too. So how can TCKs communicate or offer these experiences that they have and to find work and to find opportunities that are more aligned with their values? Well, just based on my own experiences, there are a lot of different things that third culture kids can do. One of them is networking. This includes online and offline, finding other people who are like you. And it's so easy now with all of these online resources, online communities where you can easily find people who match your interests. And I also encourage everyone to look for people within their own towns and cities. And part of that can be finding these people online and then meeting them offline, or to find events where you can people who share your interests. So definitely reach out, and that's the first step, is to start building that network and to build a community around your shared values. Second, to take your own leadership. At TCKid, we invite people to be chapter leaders in their own towns and cities. I'm a chapter leader here in the Philippines, and we have fairly regular meetups here in the Philippines, and that's how we've started building a community of third culture kids here in Metro Manila. And that's sort of this first step towards, making the sort of community that is more open to who we are as well. So that's another part of the process. Of course, there's also communication. Be vocal about who you are, and hopefully somebody will hear about it or read about it and they'll want to reach out to you. Write for your local paper, or start a blog, start some videos, and definitely, be open about sharing who you are, and then somebody will hear about it and will want to connect. And then another way that I think is also important, especially just based on my work experience, find a way to align your third culture kid experience with emerging issues in your community. So for me, being a third culture kid is also related to the experiences of other young people or other people here in the Philippines who have also had a transnational upbringing, whether it's people who have grown up in the diaspora, or if they're people who have had parents who worked abroad, or have a parent who's not of Filipino heritage. So, aligning yourself and finding common issues is a way of building solidarity, and also to, build a community around people who share your values and make a difference in your community. And then finally, start your own thing. If you really feel like this is something that you absolutely can't set aside, definitely take initiative and start your own project, start your own initiative, and make something happen. But of course, base it upon what's close to your heart and also close to the heart of your community. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in and taking the time to hear about the future of work and how third culture kids contribute to social change in our communities. I wanted to thank the great folks over at the Change School, Salonia, Grace, Josie, Sid, for helping out with this video and for giving the opportunity for me to speak here today. And if you want to get in touch with me or learn more about the ideas that I talked about here in this video, you can reach out to me via Twitter. My handle is @Erin Sinogba, and you can email me also at erinsinogba@tckid.com. You can also reach out to TCKid through Facebook, TCKid, Home for Third Culture Kids on Facebook. Our Twitter handle is @TCKid. Our website is www.tckid.com. And you can register on our social networking site where you can connect to over 3,000 third culture kids all over the world at my.tckid.com. So that's my.tckid.com. So thank you again, and make sure you tune into the Change Schools TCK Summit over the next few months for more engaging topics like this one. Thank you.